Hey guys, welcome to Digit.in, and what we have for you today is the review of the Realme 43-inch TV. Now Realme announced two TVs, one is a 32-inch TV and the other is a 43-inch TV. We have the 43-inch TV for review. This is a full HD TV and it also boasts of HDR. It has an MRP of 21,999 rupees. So is it a worthy consideration? Well, let's find out. Now let's kick things off with the most important thing, which is of course the picture quality. And because the TV boasts of HDR, it is actually a slightly lackluster experience. So let me explain. To get good HDR, you don't necessarily need a 4K panel. That's just for the resolution. For HDR, what you need is a 10-bit panel. The Realme TV has an 8-bit panel. Okay, but that's not all. The HDR implementation is only from the built-in app. So let's say you have the built-in app of Netflix and you're going to watch something like, let's say, Altered Carbon or Our Planet, which is in HDR, then you can take advantage of HDR on this TV. But the HDR output of this TV is very dull and dark. And when you plug in an external source and watch something in SDR, which is standard dynamic range, it looks a lot better. So what we are going to do for you right now is we are going to play the content that we shot using a phone on this TV. One is of course the content playing back in HDR, which is Altered Carbon, and the other is also an HDR piece of content, which is Our Planet. And we've used an external source, which is an Xbox in this case, to play it in SDR. The reason the external source can play it in SDR is because the HDMI ports on this TV are HDMI 1.4 and not HDMI 2.0. So the external source is always recognized as an SDR source, and you can see the difference in the quality yourself. With the HDR picture on one side and the SDR picture on one side, it is but obvious that you should watch content on this TV in SDR because SDR content actually does look good. So can you switch off HDR from the TV? Well, no, because when you are watching content from the built-in apps on this TV, you can't control any form of picture settings whatsoever, and that is a big bummer. To learn more about why this is, you can always check out our detailed review on Digit.in. So what about SDR content from streaming services on these platforms? Well, SDR content is fine. We saw a bunch of SDR content as well, like John Wick, for example, is another movie which is an SDR and it has low light scenes. So the performance you can see in both the cases from the internal app and from the external source, both of them actually performed almost at par with each other. There was no noticeable difference per se. So SDR performance is good. So if you're going to connect a set-top box or watch, let's say, content of YouTube, then it's fine. Another piece of content that we played is from Amazon Prime Video, which is Jack Ryan, which is also in HDR, and we also have the Grand Tour, which is also in HDR, but it looks like those sources, even from the built-in app, were not recognized as HDR content because the difference in performance from the internal app and the external source were not at all different. In fact, from the built-in app, it did give you the feeling of an SDR level of performance. So it looks like the lackluster HDR performance is something that's limited to Netflix for now, because that is one app that has a lot of HDR content and it is recognized and showcased on the TV as HDR content. So let's keep the HDR content aside and move on right now. SDR content is actually pretty good. It works as good as any other 1080p TV in this price range that we have tested. Full HD is fine considering it's just 43 inches. There are a bunch of 43-inch 4K TVs also available, and if you want to get onto the 4K bandwagon, you can check those out. But for full HD TV performance, this TV performed quite well. We even connected our Xbox to play some games, and games like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is in HDR, but thankfully it was recognized as an SDR signal for this TV, looks actually pretty good. Now in HDR, on some budget HDR TVs, Assassin's Creed Odyssey has a slight warm bias to it, but it did not have that on this TV, of course, because it was in SDR, and the gaming performance was actually good. Now another funny thing is that there are two settings for game mode on this TV. One is of course is in the standard picture presets that you can choose, and the other is in the advanced settings, and changing the advanced setting one really had no noticeable effect on the TV, but changing the one in picture, I think, kind of tweaked the picture settings a little bit to give you different picture settings for game mode. But the TV has two game modes. That's something you should know about. Moving on to the UI. Now the UI is something which is just pure stock Android, so it just works. I mean, the initial setup, if you guys have an Android TV, you know the initial setup, you will see a bit of hiccups when you are setting up the TV, but apart from that, There was no problem with the UI whatsoever, be it changing sources, using the internal apps to consume some content, or simply just asking the Google Assistant a question. The apps just worked, the TV just worked. It's as good as any other Android TV on the market when it comes to its UI and the fluidity out there at the same price point. The audio from the TV is fine. It's got 4 drivers, a total output of 24 watts. The vocals are actually clear. So if you're someone that's going to watch, let's say, news or shows which have a lot of voice, like let's say Friends, Young Sheldon, anything that has more conversation in it, then yeah, you should be fine with the TV speakers. For a small bedroom, they work fine without even going all the way up to 70% volume. So that is a good thing. On the downside, it is when too many things are happening on screen that you get a little bit of a muddy audio from the TV, which is, let's say, in a movie like Mission Impossible, you have there's background score, there are vehicles chasing each other, there's gunfire, there are people talking, everything is happening simultaneously, and you kind of get a bit muddled in the audio. But that's okay. I mean, we've experienced this with multiple TVs. In fact, this TV's speakers are better than what we saw on the Oneida 43-inch Full HD Fire TV when we reviewed that some time ago. What else? Yes, the remote control of this TV. Now, the remote control that we get to this TV is actually pretty good. As you can see, it has a teardrop design, which actually makes it really nice and ergonomic to hold in your hand. It has the power button, the mute button. The D-pad has this nice little yellow ring to it, which, I don't know, it gives it a different look. It has OTT hotkeys for Netflix, Prime Videos, YouTube, and it's very conveniently reachable by the thumb. So most of the things that you will do on this TV with the remote control is actually something really good, be it with its teardrop style design, the placement of the buttons, how light it is, and it kind of has this matte finish to it, which means that I feel confident holding it lightly and know that it's not going to fall out of my hands. So I really like this remote control design. So what would we say overall? Now, a TV that we really loved for about 23,000 rupees was the Oneida Fire TV, and that is a full HD TV. It does not have HDR, which in this case is a good thing. And apart from the audio, which was lackluster, that TV actually had some great performance when it came to the UI and the way the apps worked. And it was simply because it had a Fire TV built into it. This Realme 43-inch TV would have been our Android recommendation to compete with that had it not been for the lackluster HDR performance. In fact, if Realme had just removed the HDR performance from this TV, this would have been a really good 43-inch Full HD TV for content consumption in SDR, be it through streaming services, even gaming and watching regular TV and news as well. But the HDR performance of this TV means that you can't even switch it off manually. You try to go into the settings to switch off HDR, there is no way of doing that. You can't even bring up the picture presets while watching content from the built-in apps of the UI of the TV. And these two things just make it necessary for you to invest in an external device to connect to this TV. So yeah, I mean, if the HDR thing is something you're looking for, you are better off looking elsewhere. If you are just going to consume content from an external device like a Fire TV stick or a set-top box, then sure, you can consider this TV for its performance in Full HD, which is fine, and the audio performance also, which is relatively decent. There are a bunch of TVs available. The 23,000 rupee price point for a 43-inch TV is flooded from brands like Kodak, you have Thomson, you have Xiaomi, you have the Oneida TV, and so many more available out there. So there is a lot of competition for this TV in this price space. So there you have it, guys. That was our review of the Realme 43-inch Full HD HDR TV. As always, you can let us know what you thought of this review in the comment section below. And for more from the world of technology, you can subscribe to our channel. We will catch you in another video. It's goodbye for now.